sometimes we feel as if we have to stay the same, because when our lives change, when we change typically comes with loss. And often we don't want to experience loss, so we don't pursue change. Fan break. Hey guys, I hope that you're all doing wonderful. If you're new to my channel, I'm Shandice, and if you're a subscriber, welcome back. So this is part 5 of my healing series. So today we're going to talk about how to loosen up a little bit, show up as your most authentic self, and also not take yourself so seriously, because I know sometimes you can be taking ourselves a little too seriously and not really know how to just fully enjoy life. First thing I want to know, I'm probably going to be sweating bullets because our AC is out. It's probably not going to get fixed until tomorrow. So I have my little fan. So I'm going to be taking little fan breaks. When we think about just in our own journeys and the things that we've gone through in our lives, it is understandable why in some situations that we might be guarded, we might be fearful, afraid, we might have anxiety pertaining to different areas of our lives because of what we may have been through when we were younger, through our teenage years, through our early adult years, like literally things that we may have even been through yesterday, right? It's 100% understandable why we may carry some of the reservations we do in our day-to-day lives. So the first thing I want to say is that I'm not judging anyone for the things that you are struggling with, because I completely understand. But what we will be talking about is how we can be proactive in loosening up a little bit, not worrying so much about what people think of us, and just living more free. So I wanted to share 5 things which are helping me personally to loosen up, not take myself so seriously, because I think I am a pretty, so it's like, though I'm like jokey, sometimes I know like internally I do take things very seriously. But I wanted to share what is helping me to just really be intentional about just living freely, being myself with courage. Like that's like my motto. So the first thing I want to say that is really grounded me and humbled me is just understanding that, for one, we're all gonna die. So I don't think our society talks about death enough. That's the first thing. Kind of like an unspoken rule, something that we just don't talk about and we just don't discuss. When the reality is we are not gonna be here forever. And because of that, it's like you don't wanna rob yourself of a full life experience. And I think that when we're able to truly face death, look it in the eye and be able to know like, this is really a once in a lifetime experience on this earth. So I think that when we are able to really accept the fact that we're not gonna be here forever, this is a once in a lifetime deal, we can start kind of asking ourselves, how are we gonna make the most out of this experience? How are we gonna free ourselves from the perceptions of others, the thoughts of others, and also the thoughts that we sometimes hold towards ourselves? Just being able to freely express ourselves, not always worrying about what other people think about us. And I will say that that was maybe something that I dealt more with in my 20s. But when it comes to me caring about what people think, like I feel as if that's one thing that I really don't care about, because I know who I am. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I might not be conscious in certain situations, or like just kind of have a heightened awareness if I feel like I might be being judged or something, right? And that's something that we will continuously work through, you know? But just coming to terms with the fact that we are all going to die. Like this moment in time is literally this moment in time. Like the only guarantee is this moment, just this moment, not even the next moment. Literally the world could just disappear in a split second, right? Like we don't know what the next moment holds. And that shouldn't be something that we should use to scare us. It's more so just a deep understanding and knowing of just how precious each moment is. And because it's so precious, we really should be making the most of it. The second thing that has really helped me is just understanding that I'm going to make mistakes. Perfectionism is definitely a killer of so many dreams, of us just living our lives and trying new things, and understanding that we're going to try things sometimes and we're maybe not going to like it, or we're going to make decisions and we're sometimes going to regret those decisions. I think that's really a reality that sometimes it's difficult to accept. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say that like I have big life regrets, but there are moments that I think, oh, like I wish I didn't do this, or like I maybe could have done this differently, or like maybe I could have adjusted this. And it's like, that's normal. Like, being able to maybe reflect back on things that you've done and think about maybe how you can do it differently next time, that's a part of growth and that's a part of learning. I know that sometimes we can be so afraid and hesitant of making mistakes for whatever reason, like whether it be to do with childhood, or like maybe when you made small mistakes when you were younger, you were like reprimanded in ways that just kind of left you with a scar, and because of that you're like, well, I'm afraid of doing something because, you know, it's like trauma. Sometimes it's literally trauma, and other times it's just, sometimes we're just so used to thinking we have to be perfect and we have to be neatly tucked away in this box and everything has to be presented perfectly. We can be so afraid of the judgment of others that we stop ourselves from trying things because we don't want to be seen a certain way, or we don't want to just make a mistake. And I think that the longer we live, the longer I'm on this earth, there are going to be things that I get wrong, and being able to come to terms with that. But it doesn't mean being reckless in my decision making. It doesn't mean just doing things for the sake of it. Just understanding that we are literally learning as we go. We do not know everything. And being able to understand that we don't know everything, I think it gives space for us to be discerning, for us to pray, for us to ask God for wisdom, for guidance, whatever it may be. Just understanding that like, we just don't know everything. So it's okay to make mistakes. Just make sure that you learn from those mistakes. So the third thing that I keep on reminding myself of is to not place myself in a box and to remember that I am forever evolving. There's something, whenever we feel as if we have to be the exact same person as we was yesterday, today, I think that it's so restricting and it can add to us like just having that tense vibe, you know? It's like, for one, sometimes we can think, if I'm not presenting myself the exact same way that I always have, then it means that I'm not authentic, or it means that like I'm not who I say I am, and all these, like, we can give ourselves every reason as to why we have to be the same and we always have to show up the same. Fan break. I think that sometimes we feel as if we have to stay the same, because when our lives change, when we change typically comes with loss. And often we don't want to experience loss, so we don't pursue change. And that can often keep us in a box, that can keep us restricted. And I think that deep down, we may not always like understand why we might be irritated or like why we might feel stuck. But sometimes that feeling is really due to the fact that we're too afraid to move, because we're afraid of what the outcome is going to be and how it's going to affect us and how we're going to have to like continue to adjust and change our lives. So I think taking the time to truly come to terms with the fact that loss is very much unavoidable. We cannot avoid loss. We're going to shed, we're going to lose things, we're going to lose people. And what that can sometimes do is, because we're afraid of stepping out and being ourselves in a new way, what we can sometimes do is put ourselves in a box, and through restricting ourselves, we become a version of ourselves that we really don't want to be. That's when we're more frustrated, more angry, and it's really difficult to pursue freedom when in our minds we're not being authentic and true to ourselves. And one thing I think that like when it even comes to healing, especially when it comes to like collective healing, like when it comes to healing in groups and really having friendships that you are actively pursuing, just growing past trauma, honesty is really what sets that off. Being able to be honest about where you are, being honest about where you're looking and where you're going, but also allowing there to be space for you to evolve and to develop and to change your mind and to do things differently than you've done them before. So it's like, even if people see you as one way, that doesn't mean that you have to step into the way that other people see you. You can take the time to redefine who you are becoming in this season of your life. So the fourth thing is going to be pertaining to work and like professionalism. I feel as if in the workplace, corporate America, wherever you work, for me, I found that in my early career, I always felt as if I had to show up a certain way, and that certain way meant me not really having a personality. And like I had to take some time to really unravel a lot of those thoughts as to why was professionalism everything but who I am, who I was. Why couldn't I just show up as myself? Why do we sometimes believe that we have to leave ourselves at home and show up a certain way to be valued and accepted? And okay, I'm gonna answer that question because I know that in many instances, that's what we have really felt like. Like sometimes we've gone to work and showing up as yourself hasn't been accepted. Like I cannot tell you how many times, like when I used to work full-time in like marketing, when I would go to work and like let's say that like I got my hair straightened and like people would be like, oh my gosh, like this is it, like this is your style, like this looks so good on you. Best believe the next week I'm coming back with my afro and my puff. Like that's the one thing. When I started my professional career, I was very intentional, especially when it came to my hair, about wearing my hair however I wanted. But there were many times that I did kind of feel self-conscious. And now that I work from home and I freelance and I work for myself, it's a different experience because pretty much I feel as if I've had the time to really like become more of myself, especially when it comes to infusing my work and my personality. And I do know that that is a process, and sometimes it requires us to start doing it in small ways, like whether it be like, instead of wearing that black suit to work, why don't you try some navy with a pop of color? If you love color, it's like, why do you have to hide or shrink in order to be professional, you know? And I understand that it really does take time to cultivate that, and it takes time for us to express ourselves through our work and through our lives in different ways. So it's not me saying like if you are very like buttoned up, then okay, there's something wrong with you, but it's more so just taking the time to ask yourself, do you think that you are showing up as yourself? And it doesn't mean that you have to give every part of yourself to your profession. But the one thing I would say is that we should have the freedom, like we shouldn't feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm stifled at work and it isn't until I get home that I can breathe. It's like so many of us are leaving our houses in the morning, holding our breaths, literally suffocating, and we aren't able to release until we get home. And though to an extent, sometimes in some environments, we may not feel safe to 100% be ourselves. The one thing that we shouldn't have to do is to reject ourselves and to like be something that we're not in order to feel like we're gonna be accepted. The one thing that I have seen as time has gone by, the more you are yourself, people eventually adjust, you know, can feel uncomfortable, but that's one way that I feel as if it really allows us to have more freedom, especially knowing how many hours per week the typical person works. Like if you work a typical 9 to 5, that's 40 hours a week. Like why should we have 40 hours a week of our lives being everything but ourselves, you know? So finding that balance where you're protecting yourself in the ways obviously that you feel necessary based on your work environment, but also knowing that you also deserve to show up as who you are and be accepted as who you are. And even though we won't maybe fully be accepted by everyone, at the minimum, we have to accept ourselves. The last thing that is definitely helping me to loosen up, not take myself too seriously. Like I had a thought the other day where I was like, look at the leaders of this world. Everyone is figuring it out. The people who are literally running our countries, not all, are messing things up proudly. Messing things up, and then to make things worse, they want to be reelected. And I'm not even talking about one particular person. I'm just saying, like, do you notice that a lot of the people who are messing up the world have the most confidence in what they're doing? And I thought to myself, little old me is stressing about the littlest things, right? And I'm not even messing up countries. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, give yourself some freedom to figure things out. I think what I have come to realize is at a minimum, I'm always gonna operate with integrity. I'm gonna put my best foot forward. I'm gonna be honest, but at the same time, I'm not always gonna get it right, and I'm still figuring things out. And just giving ourselves the opportunity to still be childlike, where we are still forever learning things, figuring things out about ourselves and giving ourselves the freedom to explore, there's something really freeing about that. And I think that sometimes as we get older, we can sometimes lose that and feel as if we always have to know everything. And then as more time goes, I realize I don't really know anything. It's like, yes, I know things, but there's a lot that I really still don't know. And the only way I'm going to know is through taking a step forward every day, just taking another step and learning and growing and gaining a deeper understanding. So those are just like 5 thoughts / tips of just ways that I have definitely been working to just really walk in freedom more and just be courageously me. And as we continue to heal in the everyday moments of life, I just hope that this video is a reminder that even despite the things that we may have been through that may leave us hurt, guarded, afraid of just fully expressing ourselves, one thing that has really helped me, like going back to part 1, is that living is really a part of healing, and being able to just give ourselves the freedom to live, right? And to learn while we're living. So I hope you enjoy this time with me. Remember to always be you with courage. I know it's a daily exercise. It really is about strengthening those courageous muscles. Take it one day at a time. Believe me, I'm on this journey too. Every day I'm learning how to be more of myself, how to be more courageously myself, and also just falling deeper in love with the woman that I know that God has created me to be. So I just want to also send some love your way. Have an amazing week ahead, ladies, and I will see you in my next one. Take care.